Hello and good afternoon everybody on this Sunday afternoon. Welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. As you guys can probably tell already, it's quite windy today. Unlike yesterday. Wind is blowing from the southwest, 17 knots. Polderbaan or runway 18 right is used for landings. As we see this Welling Airbus land in front of us. Now back when I checked a few minutes ago, the Schiphol Oostbaan runway 22 was also being used for landings. Wind is blowing from the southwest. Runway 24 is now in use for departures. And all the planes now landing on the Polderbaan are landing into CROSSWIND from the right. If you look in the water over here, you can see quite a few waves. Marissa, good afternoon. Rick, goedemiddag, good afternoon. Good to see you guys. Welcome to the stream, everybody. So I'm out here in the open with a lot of wind, but luckily no precipitation is predicted for this afternoon. We did have rain in the morning, but all is well now and it is expected to stay so until I think tonight. I'm looking to see if I can stick around until somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock local time. Before going out, I had a look at flight radar. I think we have quite a few heavies still inbound. Now, I've learned my lesson from that one time at runway 27 when my tripod blew over. So my new tripod is fastly secured with tent wires and herrings, 3 wires, 1 through each leg. So this tripod is going nowhere. What you are noticing, however, is the impact that the wind is having on both me and the camera. So you will see the image be more shaky than would be the case when it's wind still. That's not because my tripod isn't fluid or because my tripod isn't safely secured, but I'm out here in the open and yeah, I'm catching all the wind myself and my camera as well. YouTube fan, good afternoon, welcome back, good to see you. Laura, I'm glad you're doing fine, good to see you again. Hope things are a bit more quiet over in the UK than they are over here. And Dutchman, you are right, it is a windy day. Crabby landings indeed. So coming in right now is an EasyJet A319 coming in from London Gatwick. It is 11 years old, was delivered in June 2011. It's being followed by an A320 and I'm going to look up the details in a few moments. First, see this landing. I hope my audio is also decent today. I'm still trying to figure out why when it's blowing, when the wind is blowing, I hear some crackling. I'm thinking it must be a connector, but I've tried it several times before at home, setting everything up the way I have when I'm out here. I used a fan, I used a blow dryer, I tried to replicate the noise, but I'm still unable to find the culprit. And for those of you who were wondering, yes, I am using a so-called dead cat on my microphone. I always have it on when I'm out here, so it's not that it's not working, but well, if anybody is watching who knows a little about audio and has an idea, I'm all ears. Michael Nobis, good afternoon, good to see you again. So coming in now is Royal Jordanian Flight 151 coming in from Amman. It is an Airbus A320-200, 10 years old, delivered in April 2012. Behind it is going to be an Embraer 175 from KLM, Flight 1316, coming in from Bordeaux, France, 5 years old, delivered in February 2018. Now, you can definitely tell there's crosswind. Crab, crab, crab. Temperature-wise, it's not cold. In fact, much warmer than it was in the previous week. At the moment, it's about 10 degrees centigrade, so that is 42 Fahrenheit, if I'm not mistaken. No, 52 Fahrenheit, I'm sorry. Always beautiful planes to see. The Royal Jordanian livery. I remember back when I was little and I saw that for the first time, I was thinking, oh, is that an airplane from the King of Jordania? But similar, like how there's a crown in the logo of KLM, you might be inclined to think it might be royal. Not so much royal as in used by the house of the king, but definitely royal in terms of the stature of the company. So coming in now is KLM Flight 1316. After having flown almost 1.5 hours, it is an Embraer 175, 5 years old, delivered in February 2018. Quickly back to the camera. Little bumpy landing, but still a good landing regardless. Nonetheless. Hopefully you guys are still able to capture some of the engine noises. They are already relatively quiet when they are landing compared to when they take off, but the wind is also blowing away from me, which makes it more difficult for the sound waves to reach the microphone, of course. Herbert asking if there is strong crosswind today. Well, it's blowing from 240 degrees and they are landing at 180 degrees, so there is 45 degrees or so crosswind at the moment, and the wind is blowing 17 knots. So yeah, I don't know exactly how much crosswind that would translate to, but there is definitely crosswind, as you can tell by the way they are crabbing. Now next coming up is an Airbus A319 from EasyJet coming in from Naples, Italy. Having flown 2 hours and 20 minutes, the airplane is 16 years old, delivered in March 2006. RS watching from the Philippines, Paul Danino, welcome. RS from the Philippines, hope you're doing fine, hope the weather is not as windy in your part of the world as it is over here at the moment. Philippines, it must be evening now. That's what? 9 hours time difference with Europe, Central Europe? Still birds in the foreground, you guys saw them. Since I've been here and during setting up all my gear, I haven't seen the Schiphol scarecrows yet. Yesterday, no, sorry, or was it yesterday? Yeah, I was here yesterday. We did see them a few times, also setting off some fireworks last Thursday too. So let's turn around the camera back towards the end of the runway. Oh, well. Can somebody call the Schiphol scarecrows? The bird controllers are needed in aisle 4. Bird controllers in aisle 4, come to the rescue. So despite all these birds, I haven't seen any bird strikes yet, fortunately, both for the birds and for the airplanes involved. But you're thinking it might only be a matter of time if you look at how crowded it is with birds. Coming up next, KLM flight 1144 coming in from Oslo, Norway. It's an Embraer 175, having flown almost 1.5 hours. The airplane is 6 years old, was delivered in January 2017. Hey Thijs, goedemiddag, good afternoon. And RS saying it's 9 p.m. at the moment. Okay, so your weekend is almost over already. So that's, what is it? What time is it now? 2 o'clock? So that's 7-hour time difference. Embraer vacating the runway, making room for the next Embraer 175 coming in, also from KLM. Hey Judith, goedemiddag, good afternoon, welcome. Cynthia, good afternoon, good day. And Dave, good day to you. Welcome everybody to the stream. Welcome to AMS Live, my name is Boy. We are standing alongside the Polderbaan or runway 18 right, where it is a windy Sunday afternoon and landings take place. So the airplanes, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the layout of Schiphol, the airplanes are now landing into the south, so 180 degrees. Wind is blowing from 240 degrees or southwest, so that means that they have crosswind coming in from the right for the aircraft approaching. I think at the moment this is the only runway in use for landings. The next plane coming in, KLM flight 1654 coming in from Venice, Italy. After a flight of 1 hour and 40 minutes, this airplane is 5 years old and was delivered in October 2017. Now you can see it is a bit hazy. It is also a bit cloudy. Earlier this week we were able to see like 3 or 4 planes in a row. Now first of all, it's not that busy yet, so we don't see a lineup like that just yet, but even if they were approaching in back to back, we probably wouldn't be able to see them all. However, what we can see is interesting, because you can see pilots have to work today. And the bird controllers also have some work still to do. Now once again, my apologies for the shaky image. That's not because my camera or my tripod is unstable, but 17 knots of wind is blowing directly onto me and also onto my camera, even though I have secured my tripod to the ground with tent wires and herrings. There's only so much you can do to fight the wind that is battling you when you're heading to the left or the right, or is blowing into you as you're standing over here in the middle of the field. And you can see great many birds over here, and this is directly next to the runway. I'm looking around to see if I can see the bird controllers already, but I don't yet, but I think it's going to be a matter of time. It's like an Alfred Hitchcock film. Peter, ahoy to you back from the Czech Republic. How are things in your part of the world today? Marcel informing us that the 747 is underway. Let me see, is it already nearby? Don't see it just yet on flight radar. Next plane coming in is Swiss Air flight 728 coming in from Zurich after having flown an hour and 20 minutes. It's an Airbus A220, 4 years old, delivered in March 2018. Hey Gosse, goedemiddag. Good to see you, man. Folks, if you're new to the channel and you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. It allows you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live in the future, you receive a heads up and can join us if you have the time and are feeling like to. Also, you'll help me reach more people like you and me who also like content like this. Growing the AMS Live community. Always lovely planes to see. The Airbus A220s. They always have that sleek business jet look. I think the A350s have that as well. Now the A220s originally were made by Bombardier, or maybe they are still officially made by Bombardier, but then Airbus bought the company. So if you look at flight radar, you always see BCS. That's because it was the Bombardier C series. That was the original name of the A220. Now it's known as the A220. So let's turn around the camera back towards the north. The next plane is becoming visible. And apparently there's a Transavia diverting back to Amsterdam. Interesting. And Marissa informing us that there's a 747 flying over us at the moment, so that should be coming in 15 minutes or so. First up is an E2 Embraer 195 from KLM, coming in from Naples, Italy, after having flown 2 hours and 19 minutes. 1 year old, this airplane, delivered in November 2021. Quickly back to the camera. Beautiful planes to see if they don't have any engine problems. By the way, if anybody who was watching earlier this week also saw the rejected takeoff of one of the E2 Embraer 195s and knows what was the reason for that, why it went back to the gate. I'm still curious to know, because I still don't know what happened there. So if anybody knows more, please drop a comment in the chat. Still no sight of the yellow pickup trucks from the bird controllers. There are definitely a few flocks of birds alongside the polderbaan at the moment, but I have absolutely no idea if maybe the bird controllers are taking a coffee break, or maybe they're on strike, although, yeah. Okay, the diverted Transavia now second for arrival. The first airplane coming in is a Pegasus flight coming in from Istanbul. That's an A320neo, Pegasus flight 1253. After having flown 3 hours and 20 minutes, it's going to touch down in a few seconds. The airplane, 4 years old, delivered in February 2019. Meanwhile, the sun is starting to come out, as you can see by the illumination of the livery from the Pegasus Neo. Okay, so if I understand correctly, the next plane coming in now is the Transavia that was originally planned to fly to Barcelona. I'm not seeing it on flight radar. Not sure if that's just me or if... because first plane that I see, but that's still far away, should be an Embraer coming in from Nice. So apparently I'm not seeing this one on flight radar, but I am seeing it on camera, so let's zoom in, see if we can make something out on the outside of the airplane. Maybe there was a medical emergency, but I'm guessing that they wouldn't go back to the airfield of origin, but then land somewhere as quickly as possible. As far as I can see on my little 3-inch screen, I cannot see anything wrong with the airplane on the outside, at least. Let me just make a small adjustment. Okay, well, okay, so I was the only one not seeing the airplane on flight radar then. The next plane that we are expecting is an Embraer 175 from KLM coming in from Nice. Let me turn around the camera because it is already close by, so you guys can see it as well. An Embraer 175 coming in from Nice in France. After 1 hour and almost 55 minutes of flight, this airplane, 7 years old, delivered in March 2016. That was a very soft landing. It is one of the many KLM pilots that's in a hurry. Not slowing down at all. Nicely keeping up the speed. These airplanes of course still have a long way to taxi from over here, where they're touching down and now vacating the runway. Normally speaking it's a 10 to 15 minute taxi, but runway 18 Center, 36 Center is still closed for maintenance at least until April, and normally speaking these airplanes would be able to cross the runway midway, thereby shortcutting their taxi to the main platform area and to the gate. However, now they have to go around it and taxi either through the over the north or south border of the runway. Next coming in, KLM flight 1364, a 737-800 coming in from Warsaw, Poland. After 1 hour and 40 minutes of flight, the airplane, 16 years old, delivered in April 2006. The next plane coming in is another Embraer 175 from KLM. It is coming in from Poznan, which is also in Poland. KLM flight 1274, 6 years old, delivered in January 2017, and it has flown 1 hour and 20 minutes approximately. Hey there Nicholas, good to see you again, welcome back. Edson, Luis, all Brazilian people, hope you guys are doing well over there. So we are entering spring over here on the northern hemisphere, and I'm thinking you guys in Brazil must be going into fall at the moment. Autumn around the corner. Or well, officially it has already begun, of course. It should be spring over here as well, although it's more like an autumn storm. Already vacating the runway over here at the first exit, which is approximately where I'm standing at. Let me quickly look around. Still no sight of yellow pickup trucks. However, no shortage of birds over here. Always beautiful to see those patterns forming in the sky, although the location where they're doing it, not the most optimal. The next plane coming in is an A319 from EasyJet, coming in from Copenhagen, Denmark. After having flown 1 hour and 7 minutes, the airplane, 14 years old, delivered in December 2008. The next plane coming in is a flight from Transavia, 737-800, Transavia flight 6004. Although the airplane is from Albastar, it is a Transavia flight. Coming in from Porto, Portugal, after having flown 1,000 miles and 2 hours and 15 minutes of flight. The airplane is 22 years old, was delivered in December 2000. Oh. Bye-bye. Now, apologies for having missed that landing. I was doing a little bit of banning for a user that was going off topic a little bit. Alright, so hallelujah, it's time for the next plane, and that's an Embraer 175 from KLM, coming in from Wrocław, also Poland. KLM flight 1272, a 6-year-old plane, delivered in September 2016, Embraer 175, and having flown 1 hour and 25 minutes. Wasn't visible on the outside by the livery, recognizable by the livery just by the speed at which it passes by, you would have been able to tell that it was a KLM airplane. Other carriers taxiing more slowly. I'm starting to wonder if there's a performance component for these pilots, that the sooner they're at the gate, the more bonus they receive. They do seem to be taxiing on average at a higher speed, or maybe it's just because they know the airfield better than the other foreign pilots and know they still have a long way to go and that there's no use in slowing down prematurely. So the next plane coming in is the first queen of the day, Boeing 747-400, coming in from Hefei. It is Suparna flight 87417, a Boeing 747-400 freighter, 15 years old, delivered in July 2007 after a flight of 11 hours and 15 minutes. It should become visible soon, although it is still a little bit out. Meanwhile, a lot of other people joining the stream. Welcome everybody. Good to see you. Welcome Cathay Spotter, Herbert Sandla, Julian. Goedemiddag, good afternoon. I'm doing fine. Hope you're doing well too. I spy with my little eye something with 4 engines. Let me see if my camera can keep the focus if I zoom in further. I'm zoomed in maximally now. Looks of it, I'm able to focus on it. Keep the focus. Now folks, if you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Not only does it allow you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up. It also helps me to reach more people like you and me who also like content like this. Coming in, Suparna, Boeing 747-400, in from Hefei. Now, even though the wind is blowing away from us, from the runway, I'm guessing you guys were still able to hear this very well. Speed breaks down. And it's probably going to retract the flaps in a few moments. right. As some of you already noticed or remarked in the chat, there are a few other heavies coming. First up is an Embraer 175 from KLM, coming in from Porto, Portugal. Almost ready to touch down. If I recall correctly, there's a 737 behind it, and then a Dreamliner is going to arrive. Speedy Gonzalez. Quickly back to the gate, keep up the speed, move. Time is money. Anyway, coming in next, KLM flight 1304, a tiny 737-700 coming in from Toulouse, France, after a flight of just over 1.5 hours. The airplane, 12 years old, delivered in February 2011. And after that, a 7879 Dreamliner from KLM coming in from Mexico City. Hey Lars, goedemiddag. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Baby 737, smallest of the bunch, the 700. Don't see a lot of them anymore. And I'm sure the tail is the same size as on the 800 and 900, but on the 700 it looks ridiculously big. It always looks like it had a crash and got shortened in length, but that's just because we're used to seeing the longer 800s and 900s so much more frequently. So this plane coming in is KLM flight 686. It's a 7879 Dreamliner coming in from Mexico City after just over 9.5 hours of flight. This airplane is 7 years old, delivered in October 2015. Hey Chris, good to see you. Did you manage last week to get back over here, and did you stay dry while you were here? Great to read that back, Chris. It did rain. I was back to my car after having packed up just in time. On my way back home last week, it really started raining quite hard. It was a temporary shower, but later it only got worse. Hopefully you had an umbrella with you, and you're absolutely right, it is an excellent place to spot. You're really close to the runway. Also, when you're standing next to runway 27, you're also standing really up close, where the other spotter's is. So first up, KLM flight 1976 coming in from Budapest. After an hour and 45 minutes of flight, another 737-700, 13 years old, delivered in January 2010. And next, after that, number 2 is going to be KLM flight 744, a 777-200ER coming in from Lima. And another Dreamliner after that coming in, Kenya Airways by the looks of it, and it is the Come Live the Magic livery, according to Flight Radar. So curious to see how that looks. Laura noting that a lot of people are here today watching the landings. It's always crowded over here during the weekends, on Saturday and on Sunday. And back at the regular parking lot where the official Spottersplatz is, there's also a fish and chip stand, and in the summer an ice cream stand, so all the people who come with their small children can have something to eat and drink as well. But yeah, over the weekend on Saturdays and Sundays, always very busy over here if it is somewhat decent weather. Very popular location for people, young and old. Meanwhile, the sun is starting to come out more and more. Unlike the bird controllers, who I still haven't seen around after having arrived here around 1:30, I think. Well, let's quickly turn around because clearly visible already a 777, and that is KLM flight 744, a 777-200ER coming in from Lima in Chile, Peru, sorry. Me and my topography. 11 hours and just over 10 minutes of flight. The airplane, 15 years old, delivered in April 2007. Could have sworn that it was chili, but maybe I'm just hungry for chili. Hey, and look at that. K1 just passing me by. Going to address the bird situation. Let's quickly turn back. The next plane is also visible already. So that is Kenya Airlines flight 116 coming in from Nairobi after having flown 8 hours and 17 minutes. The airplane, 8 years old, delivered in July 2014, and as mentioned, it is in the Come Live the Magic livery. So let's have a look. You can just just see how much crosswind from the right there is by the crabbing that they have to do. Even the bigger planes like this one. This is a 787-800, by the way. Forgot to mention that just now. Alright. Now, to switch it up, next up is going to be a small Embraer 190 from KLM. Let me see, there it is. So this is KLM flight 1346 coming in from Billund in Denmark after 52 minutes of flight. This is an 11-year-old plane delivered in January 2012. And after that, Aeromexico coming in from Mexico City, a 7879 Dreamliner. Crab, 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 crab. As it's being chased by a Dreamliner, it's probably going to keep up the speed. Though it's already passing by relatively slowly. Okay. So then it's going to take the first exit over here, probably. Yep. Let's turn around quickly. The Aeromexico Dreamliner is already nearing by. So this is a 7879 Dreamliner, 4 years old, delivered in May 2018 after a flight of 9 hours and 45 minutes, about to touch down. Beautifully illuminated by the sun coming out. A little bit of a wheelie. A very solid landing, if you ask me. Now my apologies if I'm sounding a bit stuffier than usual. I'm still battling the last remnants of an upper respiratory infection, the common cold. It always affects my nose, as is the case with cold weather. But the one causes it to get stuffed and the other causes it to run. So next up is a KLM Embraer 190 coming in from Florence in Italy. KLM flight 1642. After almost 2 hours of flight, going to touch down in a few seconds. The airplane, 14 years old, delivered in January 2009. Stephen asking how long am I planning to stream for now? Well, if the weather stays the way it is, probably somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m. local time. And do I use a muffler on the mic? Herbert asks. I do. I always have the dead cat on, even in windy conditions like today, but sometimes it's so windy that even a dead cat muff is insufficient, and what you actually should be needing is a blimp. But then the whole setup becomes a little impractical. But I always have the muff on, the dead cat on, even when it's wind still. I have a muff on my shotgun mic on the camera and also on the lavalier mic that I use for voiceover. And I keep that on always. Here's a KLM pilot taking it easy for a change. Let's turn around quickly. The next airplane almost touching down already. Hardly any time. Haven't had the time to look up all the details, but by the big engines I can tell that it's an E2 Embraer 195. One of them that is in use actually. I think it was Rick Meester who was mentioning that a lot of them are grounded because of engine problems. Something to do with the geared turbofan that is on these engines. Now, I'm absolutely no technician, but I have heard that geared turbofans are more complex, although they are more fuel efficient if they work. But that's all I know about it. And I'm not even sure that everything I know about it and what I said just now was correct. So take that with a grain of salt, as everything I'm saying. So another Embraer coming in. This time I have some time to look up the details. This one is an Embraer 175 KLM flight 1584 coming in from Bologna in Italy. 1 hour and 15 minutes of flight. The airplane 5 years old, delivered in January 2018. It's going to be followed by KLM flight 960, that's a 737-700 coming in from Newcastle. Also relatively old, 14 years, delivered in October 2008. Quickly back to the camera. By the way, Herbert, if you want to see my current setup, you should have a look at the community tab of my channel page. When I bought a new tripod, a Zachtler Ace, almost a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I posted a picture of my camera with the muff and the shotgun mic attached. That's just how I use it all day when I'm out here. So if you look at the picture, you can see the muff is quite big for the size of the microphone, but it's almost impossible to mute the noise of wind when you're out in the field, when the wind is blowing this hard and you have only a muff and not a blimp. Another baby 737. Okay, well, if I zoom out a little, you can see that things have opened up a little bit. There are some more patches of blue sky visible at the moment. If I look up here, and if you look in the distance, if I zoom in again, you can even make out two planes coming this way. Now I have to cover the sun. Shining on my camera screen to make sure you guys are seeing both, but as this airplane is struggling so much with the wind, let me just zoom in on that, because it was banking left and right quite hard actually. Even when not zoomed in, it was clearly visible. But despite all the struggling, very solid landing. Let's turn around the camera back to the north, where another KLM flight is coming in, Boeing 737-800 coming in from Rome, KLM flight 1602, the airplane 8 years old, delivered in March 2014. No bumpy. Still solid. Another relatively high speed pass. If it keeps going that way, it's going to overtake the EasyJet Airbus. It has already. I think it might have. Hard to judge from over here, but it looks like it might have overtaken it already. Okay, so there is another plane coming in, an Embraer 190 from KLM, flight 1426 coming in from Birmingham. Still a bit out. Steven, those two KLM 747, what's their ETA? But if they are expected to land over here between 5 and 6, then yes, it's very likely that I'm going to stick around for that. What time are they expected to arrive over here? Meanwhile, the plane that is going to become visible, but isn't yet, is KLM flight 1426 coming in from Birmingham, as I was just saying, and it's an Embraer 190, 7 years old, delivered in November 2015. Let me take this moment to take a sip of coffee from my thermos before it gets cold. Let me also make sure that you guys can see the Embraer well enough. There we go. Hey, Sarah Jane, good afternoon. Navy Jack, good afternoon. Early Monday morning in Australia already. Sarah Jane, my lord. Your weekend has already is already over. I'm so sorry. What's the time difference over there? It's 12 hours or so? Here it's almost 3:15. Is it morning already? Is it day already in Australia? Alright, so we also heard some fireworks being set off by the Schiphol scarecrows, the bird controllers. Now, I'm looking around to see if I can see the vehicle anywhere, but to be honest, I don't see it anymore. Looking at flight radar, I can also see that runway 27 is now open. Wind not slowing down. In fact, I think it's going to pick up even during the night and tomorrow. But 18 right is still open for business, so it's not that the runway has closed, it's just that runway 27 is now also open for inbound traffic. We are expecting 2 airplanes in a few minutes, the first one being KLM flight 1726, a short flight coming in from Brussels, Belgium. Just a 25-minute flight. An Embraer 175, 4 years old, delivered in April 2018. And number 2 is going to be an A320 from Vueling, flight 8302, coming in from Barcelona. after having flown almost 2 hours, and that is a 13-year-old plane delivered in May 2009. Roy, if you're still with us, thanks for joining us. Now, just about to become visible is the Embraer 175 coming in from Brussels, and the Vueling I cannot make out yet. Oh, and if I look at my phone, I see I received a donation through PayPal from Barbara Larder. Barbara, if you're watching, thank you so much for your donation. Unfortunately, I'm unable to highlight it if it's not in Super Chat, but thank you so much. I did receive the email, and thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Here is the Embraer 175 coming in from Brussels. So that's just a 25-minute flight. I cannot even reach normal cruising altitude. I think they climb only to 20 or 25,000 feet before they're already initiating their descent. Only a few minutes on cruising altitude, then it's already descending. I think we can see the A380 take off over there. Only just. Because of the haziness, the contrast is lower, so my camera is also struggling with the focus. Quickly back to the action on this runway, the things we can focus on. Vueling, Airbus. Okay, so let's have a look at flight radar. Seems that a lot of traffic is now going to runway 27. There is another Embraer 190 from KLM coming this way, coming in from Pork. And more traffic I can see on the North Sea, so we'll have to wait a little, see what is coming. What is going where? And US Air Force vet, you're absolutely right, it is very windy at the moment. You could probably tell by the crabbing that all the approaching airplanes are doing. The wind is, let me have a look. Is it increasing? No, it's been the same throughout the afternoon. 17 knots blowing from 240. So there's crosswind from the right for the planes landing on this runway. Looking at the altitude it is at, I think the Embraer coming in from Ork will be coming this way. That's an Embraer 190, having flown an hour and 5 minutes at the moment, coming in from Cork. It's a 13-year-old plane delivered in October 2009. Meanwhile, bird controller vehicle on its way to the end of the runway. As we're awaiting the next plane to arrive. I think they might also be using this time to do another round around the perimeter, make sure that there aren't any flocks of birds. If you tuned in later, you might have missed it, but there were a lot of birds earlier in the beginning of the stream around the runway. Last 30 minutes or so I haven't seen them anymore. Bird controller making sure that there aren't any left. So zooming out a little. Are expecting KLM flight 1086 as number 1. A few more planes coming this way, but it's hard to tell if they're going to land or attempt to land at Polderbound, or if they're going to continue flying east and attempt landing at runway 27. The only one I am certain about is the Embraer 190 coming in from Cork. It's turning final. I'm not able to make it out visually just yet. It's probably going to become visible when it turns its landing lights on. Hey there, Steven. How's life in Ribble Valley? Is it as windy over there as it is over here? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to AMS Live. All other viewers who have in the meantime joined us, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. We're standing alongside the Polderbaan or runway 18 right where landings take place. This has been the dedicated runway in use for landings throughout the day. Earlier this afternoon, runway 22 was also in use as a secondary runway for landing, and at the moment runway 27 is also in use as a secondary runway for landing, although most of the inbound traffic at the moment is going that way. Not all traffic. I can see that the 737 coming in from Edinburgh from KLM is also turning final to land on this runway. Cold and windy here too, Steven says. Well, so much for spring, eh? Anyway, first up, KLM flight 1086, an Embraer 190 coming in from Cork, 13 years old, delivered in October 2009. Number 2 is going to be KLM flight 1282, coming in from Edinburgh. That's a 737-800. After 55 minutes of flight, that one is 23 years old, delivered in April 1999. And folks, if you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Not only does that allow you to turn on notifications so that you get a heads up whenever I go live, it also helps me to reach more people like you and me who also like content like this. There are a lot of us out there, and your subscription helps me reach a wider audience and grow the AMS Live community that is growing already. Now, my camera was still struggling a little to keep the focus, so let me try again to zoom in. Nope. Third attempt. This time I have the focus. As you can see, USAF VET. There's definitely a bit of wind. Crosswind from the right. All these planes grabbing to the right in order to stay on the glide slope. You can see the windmills in the background spinning, indicative of the wind speed. I think tomorrow morning or during the day it's even going to be worse. I also believe that they expected precipitation. When I'm done streaming tonight and I'm back home, I'll have a look at the weather, see if it's doable to go out. I am free tomorrow, so if possible I'll be there, but at the moment I'm not promising anything yet. I'm also seeing more clouds coming in, so let me also have a look at the weather radar to ensure that we are going to stay dry for the next couple of hours. Buienradar, the weather app, is not predicting any rain. Okay, so unfortunately, because I had to check the weather radar, I missed the touchdown of this 737. Apologies for that. But things are getting more cloudy over here, so just wanted to make sure that we're going to keep dry weather over here. Now we are seeing another 3 or 4 planes making their way over here. I think the first one is just about visible. Inbound 2 Embraer 190s from KLM, followed by a 737-800. First Embraer 190 coming in from London City, KLM flight 972, a short 37-minute flight. The airplane is 11 years old, was delivered in January 2012, and the second Embraer 190 coming in is coming in from Glasgow after a 56-minute flight, 9 years old, delivered in October 2013. Meanwhile, in the left bottom side, the left bottom side of the screen, you can also see that the vehicle from the Schiphol Scarecrow is coming this way. Bird controller vehicle. Even though these airplanes look tiny, if you see how small that vehicle still was, you can see how much bigger these airplanes actually are. So this is Embraer 190 number 1 of 2 in a row. This one coming in from London City. There's the vehicle of the Schiphol Scarecrow. Doesn't seem to be setting off any fireworks, just patrolling. Quickly turn around the camera because the next plane already has its landing lights on. Let me quickly look at flight radar. It's a Boeing 737-800 KLM flight 1670 coming in from Barcelona, Spain after having flown almost 2 hours, 23 years old, delivered in June 1999. Gonzalez keeping up the speed. Those KLM pilots know, like no other, that they still have a long way to go back to the gate, so they'll make sure not to brake unnecessarily too quickly. So next up, KLM flight 1694, another 737-800 from KLM coming in from Lisbon, Portugal. 2 hours and 25 minutes of flight. The airplane, 12 years old, delivered in November 2010. You get the feeling that the wind is getting a little bit more gusty. It's a little bit more tricky to follow the airplane smoothly as the gusts are creating shudders in my following. Me following the airplanes, that is. VB, this is Polderbaan and just a little north of the official Spoddersplaats. And Anibal, good afternoon from sunny Portugal. I'm very jealous. Can you send some sunshine over to us here in the Netherlands? Happy to hear that you're enjoying the stream. Hope you guys are all having fun. Despite the wind, I sure am having fun this afternoon. So the next plane coming in is an Embraer 175 from KLM, coming in from Inverness, which is in Scotland. This Embraer has flown 1 hour and 5 minutes. It's 6 years old, delivered in May 2016. Marissa, thanks for joining us again. Hope to see you soon. If not, have a nice Sunday and see you soon. Crabbing until the end, just before touchdown. They are straightening the nose. Another high-speed pass. Keeping up the speed, making sure they're back to the gate as quickly as possible. So we have to wait a little longer for the next plane to arrive. There are several underway at the moment. Most likely the first one, an Embraer 175 from KLM coming in from Bristol. Have to double check. Isabel, awesome, checking in from the United States. Very much enjoying the stream today. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself. That's what I do this for, so you guys can enjoy the always bustling Schiphol Airport air traffic. Once again, I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy. It's the temperature and the last remnants of a cold infection. There are still several planes coming this way by the looks of it, even though, let me double check, is runway 27 still open for landings, or is it just 1-8 right at the moment? Mary Pest, Amor, back to you. Phil Tovey, good afternoon. Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well there in Warwickshire. From what I understand, in the UK it's also very windy at the moment. Yeah, at the moment still 2 runways open for landings, 1-8 right, and 27 is also still open. This runway has been the only runway, or the primary runway for arrivals throughout the day. Earlier this afternoon, runway 22 was also open for landings as a secondary runway. At the moment, runway 27 is also open for landings, but if I look at flight radar, a lot of traffic now also seems to be inbound again for this runway. The first one to arrive, is it visible yet? I don't see it just yet, but it will become visible shortly. KLM flight 1052 coming in from Bristol. A short flight, 48 minutes. The airplane, 6 years old, delivered in February 2017. And it's an Embraer 175. It's going to be followed by another KLM airplane, but 737-800. KLM flight 1702. Number 2 is that. Boeing 737-800 coming in from Madrid, Spain, after having flown 2 hours. The airplane, 3 years old, delivered in March 2019. And the Embraer 175 is just becoming visible. Visibility does seem to have deteriorated a little compared to earlier this afternoon, but it's on and off. On the ground it's clear, but it does seem to be a little hazy or cloudy on low level. But my camera is able to keep the focus, fortunately, on the Embraer. Now, the wind is causing some vibrations. Now, I'm not afraid that my tripod is going to blow over. I've got it securely fastened to the ground. Each of the 3 tripod legs I have secured with tent wire and herrings. I've learned my lesson from that one incident over at runway 27 not too long ago. So there's no way that my tripod is going to fall over. In fact, it's extremely sturdy. I use the wires also when it's not windy, just because it adds more firmness to the tripod and allows for better and smoother following of airplanes. Low cost, low weight solution, and very useful, particularly in windy Netherlands. Even though all aircraft today are having to deal with crosswind, none have had to struggle so hard that they did a go around. So kudos to the pilots who all managed to put their aircraft on the ground safely and often also very gently. I haven't seen very bumpy landings. Let me quickly turn around the camera. There is another plane already visible, coming closer by quickly. Let me also have a look at flight radar. That's the 737 coming in from Madrid, and behind it will be British Airways flight 2760, an A319 coming in from London Gatwick. That is a 16-year-old airplane delivered in December 2006. Happy to read that you're doing fine, Phil. Always great to have you on our stream. So 737 also another smooth landing, and another airplane keeping up the speed, making sure to vacate the runway in time and also shorten the duration to the gate. Marcel telling us that there's a 777 coming out of Shanghai in 15 minutes. Excellent. We could do with a few heavies. Okay, so there's a whole slew of airplanes lining up to arrive over here. I think the rush hour, the afternoon rush hour, is about to begin. Next up, British Airways flight 2760 coming in from London Gatwick, an A319, 16 years old, delivered in December 2006. I'd imagine that the passengers on board that plane might feel a little seasick after banking left and right so much. Okay, let's turn around the camera back to the end of the runway. The next plane already visible. It is KLM flight 1564 coming in from Genoa in Italy. 1 hour and 45 minutes of flight, an Embraer 175 that is 5 years old, delivered in July 2017. Vacating the runway at the first exit, which is over here. Making sure that the runway is vacant for the next plane that is also approaching quickly. It's quite back-to-back action at the moment. Next plane to arrive is Transavia flight 5664 coming in from Gran Canaria after just over 4 hours of flight. This 737-800 is 7 years old and was delivered in February 2016. Very controlled, gentle landing, even a little bit of a wheelie, bumpy drop of the nose wheel though. Transavia pilots opting to keep up the speed, take a later exit before vacating the runway. Hobby Life remarking that passengers on the left have almost a pilot view. Yeah, they do. And the pilots better not have trouble looking to the left, because then they would have difficulties landing the plane. The next plane coming in, Air France flight 1820. It is an Embraer 190 long range coming in from Marseille, France, operated by Air France Hop. 1 hour and 45 minutes of flight, and this is a 16-year-old plane delivered in October 2006. Folks, if you're liking what you're seeing and you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. It allows you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up and can join us. It also allows me to reach more people like you and me who also like content like this. Harder landing, but still nicely done. Turn around the camera because the next plane is almost touching down already. No time to follow these airplanes because it's back-to-back action. Next up, KLM flight 1076, a Boeing 737-800 coming in from Manchester, 15 years old, delivered in January 2008. Quickly back to the camera to follow this airplane. As it touches down quite gently. Another high-speed passage. Quickly turn around the camera, the next plane also getting closer and closer by. There it is. This is British Airways flight 438 coming in from London Heathrow, a short 40-minute flight. It's an Airbus A321 that is 17 years old, delivered in July 2005. Okay, next up is another 737-800 from KLM, flight 936, coming in from Dublin, Ireland after an hour of flying. The airplane, 14 years old, delivered in May 2008. And after that, it seems that we are going to see another heavy for the first time in a while. The Latam Cargo 767 approaching fast. We've seen a lot of narrow bodies, and of course when the wind is crosswind and hard like now, it's great fun to watch because they struggle more with the wind than the heavies do. But a few heavies for a change is definitely very welcome. Folks, I'm going to turn around the camera so that we can see the Latam Cargo 767 approach. It is Latam Cargo flight 1507. It's a Boeing 767-300ER coming in from Miami after almost 8.5 hours of flight. The airplane is 13 years old and was delivered in February 2010. Stephen Oskam updating us regarding the 747, estimated around 5 o'clock and 20 minutes past 5. Well, as long as traffic is keeps coming this way, I intend to stick around. That's what I'm talking about. Always nice to see those 767s. Unfortunately, I cannot zoom in any further than this. Let's quickly turn around the camera. Incoming is an A319 from EasyJet. Coming in from London. London Luton, if I'm not mistaken. Very gentle landing. Let's quickly turn back and see the next plane approach. We are looking at an Embraer 190 from KLM coming in from London Heathrow. It's KLM flight 1012, a 13-year-old plane, delivered in February 2010 after a flight of 40 minutes, about to touch down. Gisela, good afternoon. Julia X, good afternoon. Karsten, good afternoon. All other viewers who have joined us in the meantime, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. We are standing alongside the Polderbaan, runway 18 right. The main runway in use today for landings. Wind is blowing from the southwest, quite hard and a little gusty. These airplanes land in southern direction, so they have crosswind from the right. Apart from the wind, weather is calm, no precipitation for the next couple of hours. Temperature wise, it's approximately 10 degrees centigrade or 52 Fahrenheit. We have had secondary runways in use for landings this afternoon, on and off. Initially it was runway 22. Now I think it's still runway 27, 27, 27 and 22. This is one of the preferential runways of Schiphol, so that means it's almost always in use and it's probably going to stay the main runway for landings. Although if I look at flight radar at the moment, I don't see any traffic coming in just yet. Seems that most of the traffic at this moment is going to runway 27. Now let me double check, is this runway still open? Because you never know with Schiphol. According to the app I'm using, that indicates the active runways. 18 right is still open. Wind has increased a little. Initially it was blowing from 240 degrees and 17 knots, and if I look at the latest weather update, that's not in the ticker, that's still an older weather update, but the current METAR is saying 250 degrees and 19 knots. So the wind has definitely picked up. If I look at flight radar, most of the inbound traffic now going to runway 27. Let's just wait and see what happens next. There is an EasyJet A320 now flying in the vicinity of Rotterdam. We'll have to see where that is going to. Hey Daphne, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. If you joined us just now, the timing is a little bit unfortunate because at the moment it seems that most of the traffic is going to runway 27, even though 18 right is still open for landings. Let's just wait a little longer. For the time being, Dave, you're right. But last I checked, it was still open. Polderbaan, one of the two preferential runways of Schiphol, together with the Kaagbaan, runway 0624. They hardly ever close them. But it does seem that we will have to wait a little for any traffic to come next, as all the traffic I'm seeing at Flight Radar is now lining up to land at runway 27. Might be that if I check in a few moments, it turns out that runway 18 right has closed. That would be very unfortunate. So I'm waiting to see what the EasyJet coming in from Tenerife is going to do. It's now flying over The Hague. It is already flying more land inward than I would have expected if it was going to runway 18 right. Otherwise it would have flown more over the coast. So I'm thinking it might be going to 27 as well. Hobby Life asking if the runway lights are still on. Hard for me to tell from over here. I'm standing alongside the runway, so I cannot make it out clearly. Even if they're on, it's hard to see from over here. Let me double check the app of the runway usage. So far as that is accurate, it still mentions that 18 right is open for business. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and there's also an A320 from EasyJet on the North Sea, inbound, coming in from Manchester. Let's see what that's going to do. I think the EasyJet A320 coming in from Tenerife, that is now over Leiden, is likely to go to runway 27. Let me once again check that runway usage app. It still says 18 right is open. Let me also check the website of the air traffic control, the luchtverkeersleiding. I think the app I'm using is linking to that, but so I'm guessing it's probably going to say the same. Air Traffic Control Netherlands website also says that runway 18 right is still open. Well, I'm going to give it a few more minutes, see what the A320 coming in from Manchester is going to do. If it turns out that all traffic is heading out to runway 27, I might have to call it a day, because otherwise it's getting really boring for you guys. Looking around, but it's really impossible to discern whether or not the lights are still on. But even if the runway is open, if 27 is also open, then a lot of the traffic is probably going to go for that, which is quite strange because we haven't seen any airplanes struggle really hard with landing during the stream, despite the crosswind that is blowing. No go-arounds, no iffy landings. Most of them were really smooth actually. So I'm a bit surprised that so much of the traffic is now going to runway 27. However, there are a few more planes approaching. By the looks of it, the GN Airways A321neo is also going to 27. What the EasyJet flight from Manchester now over the North Sea and quickly approaching the mainland is going to do is still a question. It's still too high to tell. It's also too far out. I'm still going to give it a few more minutes. These are the windmills that are in the harbor area to the west of Amsterdam. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Netherlands, I think this is Busingenliede. If you ever want to take pictures of the runway threshold on the far end, so where you can see, where are they? Am I skipping over it? Here, where you see the landing lights in the middle of the screen. You can also go there by foot, take pictures of landing traffic very nicely. I think my second or third stream I did, nobody ever watched it, but the thumbnail shows you a picture of that location. I was standing there and you're just at the threshold of the runway, and it's a great place to do some plane spotting. Although when shooting there with a live stream, it was a bit difficult to follow the airplanes with my camera. You're also feeling the jet wash from the airplanes as they land. When they have passed, you start feeling the wind pick up. It's the wake turbulence that you actually feel over there. You can park your car in a small strip of houses that is called Busingenliede, and that's over here in the background. You can also park your car over there and go to the other side of the runway. Nowadays, not allowed to go there and park your car, but you can go there on foot. Let me see. I think what you see over here is the street that you have to turn into. There's a crossing with traffic lights, I think just behind the house that you see on the right hand side. And it's still, I think, a kilometer or maybe even more of walking that you have to do, so it's definitely still 20 minutes or so of walking. You can enter the street where this car is also driving, the white car. And if you follow that street, it's a dead-end street, and you'll end up over here on this side. So you can see the planes arrive from the other side of the runway. In the meantime, still no traffic. I see it in the distance passing us by. The EasyJet coming in from Manchester is so high. I'm expecting it to continue flying east and land on runway 27. So I think it's best for me then to conclude today's stream, because for the time being there's no more traffic coming this way. I'm really sorry, you guys, but that's just the way it goes with Schiphol. You never know for sure. I want to thank everybody who has joined me today for joining me, and I really hope to see you again soon. I am going to look and see if maybe tomorrow I'm able to go live again. Very much weather dependent. I'll have a look tonight, but I'll make sure to post an update if I go live. Everybody who have joined me, thank you so much once again. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel so that whenever I go live you get a heads up, or at least if you turn on the notifications. You subscribing to my channel helps me to reach more people like you and me, so that on following Sundays there's more of us. The more the merrier. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Take care, be safe, and see you guys soon. And bye for now.